Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Pack Mentality here on ArizonaSports.com. My name is Vince Marotta, and each week I take a look back at the week that was and a look ahead at what's to come in the Conference of Champions. And let's just suffice it to say, week 2 was a doozy in the Pac-12. Here were my takeaways from the week. And yes, I've got to start with Arizona. All I can say is wow. The Wildcats not only beat Oklahoma State, they crushed them, hanging 59 points on the Cowboys. Matt Scott has been outstanding at quarterback and is second in the nation in total offense. Of course, Mike Gundy's Cowboys shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, racking up an ungodly 167 yards in penalties. But the Cats are way ahead of schedule for new head coach Rich Rodriguez. You could say the same thing about ASU. Todd Graham's team looks nothing like the squads Dennis Erickson coached in Tempe. The Sun Devils moved to 2-0 with an impressive 45-14 win over Illinois. And yes, I know Illinois quarterback Nathan Scheelhaase didn't play, and his backups Riley O'Toole and Miles Osei were atrocious. But consider ASU put up over 500 yards and 45 points on a defense that has 7 starters back from last year's squad that ranks 7th nationally in total defense. Pretty impressive. And while we're talking about teams ahead of schedule, how about Jim Mora's UCLA Bruins? They're 2-0 after knocking off Nebraska 36-30 in Pasadena. UCLA is 3rd in the nation in total offense. They're averaging 649 yards per game. Jonathan Franklin is the leading rusher in the nation, and the defense held the Huskers to only 106 yards and 2 field goals in the second half. On the other side of the fence, you've got to be concerned if you're Washington. Nobody expected them to go to Baton Rouge and beat LSU, but the Huskies really didn't even compete, losing 41-3. Their offense has put up 17 points in 2 weeks. New Orleans newspaper columnist Jeff Duncan called LSU's win, quote, little more than an exhibition game. Ouch. I don't know what's worse, the fact that he's right or the unbelievable arrogance of the SEC. I guess when you win championships, you can get away with it. Things get easier for the Huskies this week with a date against Portland State. Despite a bad start to the week, it turned out pretty well for the conference, with Oregon State upsetting Wisconsin, UCLA upending Nebraska, U of A's big win over Okie State, and ASU manhandling Illinois. In fact, 5 Pac-12 teams are ranked in the top 25 this week, and 2 others received votes. All in all, the conference went 9-3 for the week. On my predictions, a disappointing 8-4 to bring the season mark to 17-6. It's time for a Week 3 bounce back. Here we go. Friday night, Washington State is on the road to visit UNLV. The Rebels lost to NAU last Saturday, marking the first win for NAU over an FBS opponent since they beat Tulsa in 1987. Keep in mind that the Lumberjacks lost to ASU by 57 points on opening night. You see what I'm getting at. UNLV stinks out loud. Washington State wins 34-17. It's a tough one for Cal Saturday in Columbus against the 12th-ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. I can't figure this Golden Bears team out. That's par for the course. They beat Southern Utah 50-31 last Saturday, but they were only up 3 going into the fourth quarter before exploding for 30 points to put away their opponent. Ohio State isn't Southern Utah. I like the Buckeyes in this one, 30-17. Oregon is hosting Tennessee Tech. The first question is, why? Seriously, find me any BCS team with an easier non-conference schedule than the Ducks. I think it's affected their focus, honestly. Against Arkansas State and Fresno State, the Ducks have given up an average of 29.5 points and over 447 yards per game. That ranks 94th in the country. It's not exactly impressive, but they will still kill Tennessee Tech 55-13. Washington returns home to face FCS Portland State. The Huskies will get healthy against the 1-1 Vikings. I like UW 31-7. The first conference game of the year is a good one. Second-ranked USC on the road to visit 21st-ranked Stanford. The Cardinals stepped it up in a 50-13 pasting of Duke, despite being outgained by the Blue Devils, 385-373. Meanwhile, USC outlasted Syracuse and a lengthy weather delay in New Jersey, beating the Orange 42-29. What can you say about Matt Barkley? He's so good that he threw 6 touchdown passes and didn't win Conference Player of the Week honors. And the receiving combo of Marquise Lee and Robert Woods is pretty good too, but we knew that. They've combined for 37 catches and 8 touchdowns so far. I've got some concerns about USC's defense, which allowed 455 yards to Syracuse, but I don't think Stanford has the firepower to exploit them enough to win. I like the Trojans 28-21. Colorado, I tried to tell you last week that it was your last chance to win a game against Sacramento State. You didn't listen, or at least you didn't take advantage. The Buffaloes lost at home 30-28 to the FCS Hornets. That's 2 straight years with a win over a Pac-12 school for Sac State. So can they move into Colorado's spot in the conference? They're actually more competitive. Anyway, CU goes on the road where they've been horrible for the last half decade against Fresno State, and I will revamp my Colorado prediction, a winless season. Fresno wins 35-20. The Utes fell at home to a decent Utah State team and lost quarterback Jordan Wynn to a shoulder injury. It was Wynn's fourth shoulder injury in the last 4 years, and in a surprise move Monday, he retired from football. That leaves things up to John Hayes and Travis Wilson at the quarterback spot. I think Utah loses their second straight to an in-state foe. I'll take BYU 20-17. You think the Houston Cougars were reliant on head coach Kevin Sumlin and quarterback Case Keenum last year? The Cougars went 13-1 last season, but both Sumlin and Keenum are gone, and the Cougs are 0-2 after losses to Texas State and Louisiana Tech. Now they get UCLA and Pasadena. Bruins offense is on fire. This game could feature over 1,100 yards of offense. UCLA might have 700 of them. I'll take the Bruins 58-31. Arizona will host South Carolina State in Tucson, coming off their huge win over Oklahoma State. It'll be a nice tune-up for Rich Rod's boys before a trip to Eugene a week from Saturday. Arizona cruises 41-10. And the game of the week, ASU travels to SEC country to take on Missouri in Columbia. These two teams met last year in Tempe, with the Sun Devils winning 37-30 in overtime. ASU has never won on the road against an SEC opponent, but does that really matter since the Tigers have been in the conference for all of 2 weeks? Missouri fell apart in the second half of their conference opener against Georgia last Saturday, losing 41-20. This could be a huge statement win for Todd Graham and the Sun Devils, but I'm leaning towards Mizzou 28-27. There you go, another edition of Pack Mentality. For more insights and opinion on Pac-12 football, you can follow me on Twitter at Vince Marotta, which also happens to be my name. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week right here on Pack Mentality on ArizonaSports.com.